Well, greetings and welcome to another episode of Lightbulb Moments, episode number 160. Check out our past episodes on YouTube. We're also a podcast now, so definitely subscribe to our YouTube channel. And I've got several recent episodes I'll share with you in a moment here. I'm Tom Qnity. I'm host and curator of Lightbulb Moments. I'm also CEO and founder of Qnity. A light bulb moment is a moment of sudden realization, enlightenment, or inspiration. And remember, though, you can't start a fire without a spark. So hopefully these sessions create a spark for you to create some actionable change for you in your business and in your life. At Qnity, we're here to take you from what's confusing, overwhelming, and complicated to a simpler path towards prosperity. And remember to prosper manage your ATM, the three currencies we have on life: attention, time, and money. And thanks for spending your precious time with us today. We hope you get a high return on your attention and time. And obviously, this costs no money. We're happy to bring this forum to you. We love hearing from you. You certainly can be very active in the chat. We do have someone monitoring the chat, so feel free to use the chat. Speak your mind, give your thoughts, give a shout out, whatever you want, use the chat. We also love hearing from you by email or on our website through info@qnityinc.com about potential new guests. Maybe you want to be a guest. Maybe there's a topic. Maybe you had a light bulb moment. So stay in touch with us. Some recent episodes. The most recent episode, or the episode we have today, which we'll get to in a few minutes here, are three owners, Josh, Brent, and Doug from Square One Salon and Spa. And I mentioned they're the primary owners because there are some other owners in this business. We'll invite them to the conversation a little bit here. Our last guest last week was Jocelyn Miller, a great session on technology adoption, trends in technology. Jocelyn was an awesome guest. She is a luxury spa consultant, and she's a senior education manager at Boulevard. We also recently had Sydney Perry as a guest. Sydney Barry, the queen bee of beauty, who is retired. She's just as active as she ever has been. And what a great episode with Sydney. Always love having Sydney as a guest. She also is a recipient of the Golden Light Bulb this year. We only award 2 per year. Deborah Neal was a recent guest. Love our session with Deborah. Minter Dial was in from UK. A favorite of Lightbulb Moments. We like to get him on at least once a year. He did not disappoint. And then we had a whole series of guests that were affiliated all with the Austin, Texas area, in particular, the University of Austin, Texas, where we had a whole curated conference, the Phil, and we got to interact with many people, including several PhDs, including Galen Paulson, who's the director of Texas Education, which essentially is the McComb School of Business at University of Texas, Austin, and their executive education part. He also was a speaker at the Phil, as was Gay Gaddis, who we had a recent episode, Katie Pritchard, Dr. Elizabeth Richmond Garza, and then Michael Leggett. These were all people that were guests on Lightbulb Moments, and they also were guests in May at the Phil. Joining us with Mike was Sam Briccato, another Golden Light Bulb winner. And then I love to highlight the episode by Liz and Jess Arundel from Luscious & Co., but there's many, many other episodes, so check them out. Remember, submit a light bulb moment of your own on our website or in the chat. I'd like to give a shout out to some of our sponsors, Lightheart Sanders, who has been I call them a legacy sponsor because they've been a sponsor since the very beginning. Thank you, Lightheart Sanders. Green Circle Salons. I was actually just on with the CEO of and his daughter this past week, Shane Price. Then Forrest, who's also been great sponsors and partners. So thanks to them for sponsoring this. Upcoming dates. We do have some workshops coming up, both in Minnesota in September, and then we do have some coming up in November. The November location might change, but we have execution coming up September 9th and 10th. Heath Smith will be the facilitator. Then we have growth coming on Tuesday, September 10th. And then we have our profit curriculum, our profit program on Monday, September 9th. So we have 3 consecutive days. 3 days. I'm trying to keep 2 days. All right, thank you. But these are 3 of our signature programs, and we do them virtual implementation groups, but this is a rare opportunity to actually experience in person with all the tools, the workbooks, etc. So those are coming up in September. In November, we're pretty sure that the execution will still be in Austin, and then we are looking at a potential different location for growth and profit. But if you're interested in any of those workshops, check them out. We'll put it in the chat. We also have a succession masterclass, which we're doing Monday, October 7th. I'll be leading that personally with Heath Smith, and that is for sure will fill up. So if you're interested in working on your succession plan, whether you want to grow, go or let go. And the other great thing about this masterclass is it's not just for current owners, but we also welcome key employees who potentially could be buyers. Also check out recent episodes of Money '02 by Erin. She has some amazing guests. My light bulb moment this week is, occasionally you have a book that either you read or you heard about or whatever, and you just, for some reason, you just think about it, you dust it off. And so my dusted off book that I have been digesting lately is by Ryan Holiday, The Obstacle's the Way. And I actually love this book. And essentially, it's really great in so many different ways. It's really teaches you the timeless art of turning trials into triumph, and how in many cases the actual obstacle that confronts you, or the disappointment, is actually the catalyst for what is the bigger and better opportunity. So I'm not going to get into it because I've got not just one, not just two, but 3 guests today. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time on my light bulb moment, but check out that book. And if you do check it out, send me a note. Tell me what spoke to you about that, because I'm digesting. It's a short book. It's simple. And it's by Ryan Holiday, who I think many of us were turned on to when we saw him at Serious Business several years ago. So remember, the obstacle actually can be the way through to what's new, next, and best. So, all right. With that, I am going to welcome to the screen, and I'm also going to welcome to the mic. We have Josh, Brent, and Doug. And let's see if we can get you guys. I don't know if you're going to be on camera with us, Josh and Brent. Doug, I can see you.
Hello. It's saying you won't let us on, Tom. We can't find. It's saying won't let us start video.
Oh well,
Host has stopped video.
We're gonna fix all of that right now.
There it goes. Yay.
All right, I have all 3 of you.
Yes.
Good morning.
So I had only met Brent back in February, I think is when it was.
Sounds right.
But I've heard about Square One for many years. So just a little bit about your business. So you have 6 locations. You're based in Ohio, and you have 220 employees, and you're $10 million plus. That's pretty impressive, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And Brent, I had a chance to meet you, and then John, who is I think he's your lead operations. I'm not sure what his exact title is.
Director of operations. Yeah.
He's awesome. And we had a chance to have dinner. I got to sit right across from you, and I just was super inspired about a lot of different things. But really the impetus to say, I got to get these guys on Lightbulb Moments, is that we work with a lot of solo owners. We work with a lot of ownership groups of 2, but ownership groups of 3 that endure is it's less common.
Yes.
It's not like totally unusual or whatever, but it just seems very super interesting that the 3 of you are business partners, and you've been partners for how long? One of you shouted out.
25 years this coming November 15th. So, more than 25 years, because we all know it takes just a minute to put a salon together. So 26 years.
Well, it's just incredible, you guys. We celebrate a lot of anniversaries on this forum, but 26 years working as a trio of business owners, you got to be doing something right. So anyway, that is, and before I bring you guys completely to the screen, I got another slide here, and just going to talk a little bit about your company. So you opened in 1999 in an underserved neighborhood in downtown Dayton. It was important to deliver a great place to work where the team could support themselves and their family. You have four corner focus. It's community, charity, customer service, and culture. And we'll get to this a little bit later. You've expanded your ownership group to include 5 other key employees, which is super interesting to me in terms of the work that we do. So anyway, but I do have one other slide. Is that the 3 of you over here on the left?
Signing your paperwork. Yeah.
It's on your
Yeah.
website. It's a public domain. So
Yeah.
now tell me about the bottle of champagne. Is that really when you opened the business?
That we were signing paperwork at a party, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Yeah, just
Like articles of incorporation or something.
yeah, things we had no idea what it meant, but we were signing.
So
What
was
is
this-
that? Is that Corbel champagne?
It's something real classic.
Probably.
So it's either champagne to celebrate or champagne to get drunk. Like, what in God's name did we just do?
Sounds
Yes.
like a yes.
And then I see the rest of your ownership group over there. We got
Yeah.
Alan, Angie, I think it's Kanan, Lori, and Misty. That's correct. But we'll
Correct.
take this off and then bring you guys more up front and center to the screen. So thanks for being guests today.
Thank
Of
you.
course.
Thank you for having us.
All we really need to do is essentially do what we do yesterday. As I asked you some questions and we went round robin, and I was super inspired by your responses. So when I really kind of framed our conversation, which I did today here, and said that ownership groups of 3 that endure this long, has to be very special. And so we'll go around and just kind of speak to that just briefly. We're going to go in the order of Brent, Josh, and Doug. Brent, when I asked you about that, the very first words out of your mouth was it's easy. I
It
think a
is
lot of people would say that it's not easy to have business partnerships, but why is it, why do you say easy? Why was that the first thing out of your mouth when I threw this out at you?
Well, when Doug, Josh, and I got together as a group, we didn't know each other terribly well, especially, Josh and I are life partners, now husbands of 35 years. So we know each other pretty well. And 25 years ago, we still knew each other pretty well. But what I did know about Doug through friends and just watching him is he had an incredible work ethic. He really loved his clients and he lived his life with joy. So it was easy because I knew I can work in that kind of a circle. I knew that we weren't identical, but I knew that we were heading toward the same point, that we knew what we wanted in the long run. And I apologize. I think my video screen says Josh because my better half knows how to do technology and I don't. So he set me up through his email. So it's
It's
actually,
actually fixed. It's
I
fixed.
sent Genty a message and she fixed it for you. I
oh,
think.
she did. Okay, good. All right.
Well, you've got some good backup there, Brent. It's already been fixed.
See how it
Right.
worked?
So, and we're going to get to Doug in a minute here, but Doug's the only hairdresser in the group, right?
Mhm.
Correct.
That's correct.
Okay.
Right.
All right. So, so Brent, first words out of your mouth was about an enduring partnership. You said it was easy. Josh, over to you. When I asked you the question, well, what's your response?
Like I said before, I do go back to that power of 3 kind of idea. I feel like we've always been able to find stability somewhere in this group. And we've taken turns with that. I think the word easy kind of makes it feel almost too casual. And I know where Brent is coming from. He's very trusting of Doug and I. I think really more than easy, it was always a sense that we had an underlying trust of each other. We always knew the other people had our back. So with that comes ease eventually. Doug knew the business. So it was kind of like, well, Doug knows this business. Brent obviously had that customer service piece. And I was just a little elementary school teacher, just wanting to, get my feet wet in the education world outside of just teaching little kids. And so we kind of all had a gift to bring to the table. That's kind of how I see it.
Yeah. And,
Yeah.
over 10 million, 220 employees, 6 locations.
Yeah.
How about you, Doug?
Well, for me, I mean, obviously easy. Hasn't always been easy. But I think what really works is the respect that we have for one another, staying in our lane and leaning on each other for the strengths that we don't possess ourselves. That's really key. I think we all can speak to that. We talk sometimes that sometimes we're in it 100%, and sometimes we've only got 50% to give. And this tripod that we have is very strong, because when they see me not being as strong as I maybe typically am, then they rise up to the occasion.
Vice
For
versa.
sure.
I'm thinking that, if one of you wants to or needs to be off the grid, it's not solo. You still have, two people.
Right.
Amazing. Let's talk about your respective lanes here. Brent, how do you describe your role?
My role is, not being a hairdresser, I had to figure out when I started in Square One, what is my role here? What can I bring to the table? And my history was in visual merchandising and in customer service. So I thought, that's what I'm going to bring to the table. I remember our first front desk was a 1930s wooden metal workbench from someone's dad's garage. And I remember all the stylists were like, that's our front desk. But then I built on that, and I just created this environment that, with the help of these guys, that I think really it singles us out as something special when a guest walks in the door, an employee wants to connect with our brand and who we are. And then service, like, I didn't know what a highlight was, but I knew how to take off someone's jacket and hang it up and put it back on them when they were leaving, and offer them a beverage and make sure the bathrooms were clean. So my lane was really the experience of our guests, and all of us look as our guest is our employee is our guest. When you go in with that, taking care of them, it inspires them to take care of each other and the guest most of the time, not every time, but a lot of the time.
Tell us a little bit more about some of the things that you do as part of the business, some of your things that you do today.
So today I'm leaving this meeting to go meet contractors.
I don't mean literally today. I mean, you can
Yeah,
go there if you want. Yeah.
So that's an example of what my day-to-day
Yeah.
looks like, is I'm meeting contractors, I'm making sure the salons are good, I'm paying bills, I'm really the bill guy. I'm also like the visual inspector, making sure everything looks good, connecting with the team. I really, it's important to me that everyone feels good about what they're doing on the day-to-day. So I really want to connect with our team and make sure that we're all moving in the same direction.
Gotcha. So you're the feel-good guy, I think you also described it as, huh?
Feel good guy, and I also want those bills paid. I don't want any debt.
How about you, Josh? Describe your role.
Well, as I said yesterday, I feel like I'm kind of the culture keeper. From the beginning of the time that the salon, got together, I was the one that put together that four-corner focus idea of making sure that we knew exactly why we were showing up to work every day. And if you will notice, and I think this is so telling of Square One, if you'll notice on our four-corner focus, we never talk about hair, we never talk about skin, we never talk about massage. It's about customer service and the culture of a company. And a lot of times we'll present, and people are like, that's shocking that it's not about, we're going to be the best hairstylist, we're going to be the best, at doing manicures. No, that's not what it's about. It's about making a feel-good environment that feels good for the people that work there, the people that come there, the people that, even people that leave Square One, if we talk to them today, they're like, that was the best job I ever had. I never felt a culture like that since or before. And there's a lot of this debate about, do you want your company to be family or don't you? And I always tell people, it's really not so much about the idea of it being family or not being family. It's about knowing that someone has your back. And that's where Square One really flourishes. Those people that work for us know they have a safety net, and these three faces you see today, we got you. Everything is going to be fine as long as you're with our company. So it's a good feeling to know that that culture is still 25 years old and still this continuous thread through that company. So that's really my role.
And some of the things that you might do on a weekly, a monthly basis would be what, for example?
Well, interestingly, as Brent will tell you, about 10:30 last night, I wrapped up our newsletter, which our newsletter is 25 years old as well. It's almost been monthly. There's times where as Doug was saying, there are times where I'm like, I just can't do a newsletter this month. I don't have it in me, but for the most part, I try to do that internal public relations stuff. Remember, I was an elementary school teacher. So being an elementary school teacher is all about finding those inner kids and making them feel good about themselves every day. So that's really what the newsletter's gift is. So that's one of my big things. And then I also teach classes from time to time about what is our culture, how do we behave, and how do we make people feel important when they leave our salon. So all of those things.
Non-technical.
Very non-technical. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Yes.
All right. Last but not least, Doug.
Hello. My role has evolved, I think, the most. I started out as a hairdresser, and that's why we opened a hair salon and not a recording studio. And when we started growing and took on our third and fourth location, it was in a different city. So I backed away from hair to go and manage those two locations. And now I started off, like I said, behind the chair doing hair, the educator for our whole team to get us started from day one, developing an education program, to training all the stylists with my assistants and all of that, and then training them to train other people, so that I could step away. Now my primary role on day-to-day is HR, payroll, and just miscellaneous, things like that.
All right. So I'm tempted to do this in the chat, but we won't do this. So there's a yes man, a no man, and a maybe man. Before we say another word, I mean, I wish I would have been thrown that and I would try to guess, but all right. So who is the yes man in this group? Please speak.
It's me. It's Josh.
All right. So you're the easy yes, is that right?
Yes, I am the easy yes. I would say that probably Brent will tell you there were times where Brent was like, my God, he's giving away the entire farm. And I think it scared Doug many times too. My big thing was early on, I wanted our people to feel so special about being at Square One that I kind of lost sight of the fact that, we can't always do that. There has to be parameters about what we're doing. And so my biggest lesson that I had to learn as a business owner was there are parameters to owning a business. So when I would go in and say to people, oh gosh, yeah, we can do that for you. And then I'd meet with Doug and Brent, they're like, we can't do that, Josh. And I'd be like, oh God. So I had to learn to reel that in. And when you finally get to be the yes man who understands the controlled yes, it really does change your outlook on things. But they know, as Brent always says, when you go ask mom and she says no, you go to Josh because he'll say yes. And it's true. I do have a tendency to be like, sure, we got this. So yeah, yes, man.
All right. So now we have Mr. No, and we only have two choices for Mr. No. So is it Brent or is it Doug? Who's Mr. No? All right, that's
Hey.
Doug. You're owning it. All right. Tell us more.
I'm the heavy.
You're the heavy?
Yeah.
Much valued, that heavy, much valued.
Yeah. Always have been. Needed something a certain way, needed the team to be on the same page. To John's point, or Josh's point, we would spend all day talking to an employee about something that they maybe wanted. And Josh would buzz in after school and he'd be like, oh yeah, sure. We can do that for you. And then he would leave. And then, I'm standing there like looking like egg on my face. And, but like I said, the tripod, the three of us, we've worked it out and we've figured out how to not be so heavy, if you will, and not be a Mr. Yes Man all the time. But the control of it has been beneficial to us as a company over the years.
Yes, for sure. And in our personal lives, I think too. I think we learn a lot about that. Yes.
Well, Brent, where does that make you?
Well, that leaves me doing my very best to pull it together with these two great guys who both have great opinions. And I see their heart in both answers, because a no doesn't mean negative. A no means is it good for the business? Is it good for you? Is it good for the client? And so when we look at a yes or no, the first thing we do is we all three support each other through that conversation with our team member. We don't throw, Doug on the tracks and say Josh is right. We don't throw Josh on the track and say Doug's right. We also don't battle on each other. So we just really we ask those three questions when someone comes to us with a suggestion or a desire: is it good for the business? Is it good for the employee? And is it good for the guest? And through that kind of a set of parameters, we can usually find a solution, knowing we are heading the same direction.
So you're Mr. Maybe.
Mr. Maybe. Let's see it. Let's wait and see.
So we have yes, no, and maybe. That's
And it
super,
works.
and it works. Yeah. Well,
It does
26
work.
years in. Yeah.
Knock on wood.
That's incredible. So, all right. So I asked you gentlemen, I said, well, you had mentioned, Brent, I think what you mentioned when we spoke yesterday, you all talked about this, is that you're all super clear on your objectives. You know what's going to happen. You are very focused. And I asked the question, so how do you do that? How do you structure staying on the same page? And in fact, yeah, let's go to that, because staying on the same page with three of you, you're not all in the same place every day. How often are you all together physically at the same place, same time?
All three of us, I
Yeah.
would say maybe once a month. What do you think, guys? Sound right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and Tom, maybe it's more like on a daily, weekly basis, a couple times a week, where be it a phone call, a text message, an email. John, our director of operations, facilitates a lot of conversations we don't know that we need to have.
Right.
Yeah,
Because
true.
that's his role.
Yeah.
And then we pick up the phone and say, hey, let's cut this out because we got to get some clear answers here. So yeah, all of those avenues. So I would say multiple times a week, but face to face, at least once a month.
Yeah. And I would say, how do we do it? It's really about trust. I trust the two of them can have a conversation that I might not be involved in. And because we all hold the same core values, that I don't have to be involved in every conversation. And I think the same can be said the other directions too. And sometimes it might even be Doug having a conversation with our director of operations. I trust that. Now, there have been moments over 25 years where we had to evolve into that, all directions, because we've all made mistakes. And easy, I did not mean that to be misleading. Every day is fraught with challenges in running a business. I don't want you guys to think that we don't recognize that 100%, because every moment of every day, I live in a little fear when I do a Zoom like this, like, am I missing anything important on my phone that has to happen now with me in the salon and marketing, or, whatever tragedy is befalling us. But I think there's a lot of trust there. That's very, very important.
Have you had any like knockdown, just brutal? I mean, I'm not trying to kind of, dig up any dirt here, but just as Shakespeare said, the course of true love never did run smooth, and
Right.
the course of a business partnership, always does not always run smooth.
I don't know that we've had that. I think what we have encountered over the 26 years or plus are moments of clarity on someone's part, where the other person doesn't quite understand or hasn't grown into that to understand. And that causes tension, if you will, and stress, but nothing that was like, we've never hit each other or verbally attacked one another.
Threatened each other. Yeah.
But in that, again, when I talked about that, lifting each other up, that's those moments when you get like that in business where we're like, oh, Josh has really frustrated me. It's because I don't understand his point of view. And then, maybe Brent's like, hey, this is where he's coming from. I'm like, oh, I so get it.
It's all about communication. And Josh is a much better communicator, I would say, Doug, I think you would agree with me, than he and I have been in the past, usually out of fear and usually out of being rushed and not having the time to communicate your ideas. I think that we've evolved in our communication skills, and our trust has evolved as a result of that too. I know that almost every salon owner, business owner, human being can probably relate to the fact that communication is key to understanding and key to moving in the same direction together. Whether it's communication to a new hire, a manager, or a contractor working in your space.
I would also say that this kind of goes back to, and I know it's cliche, but that whole power of three idea again, which does seem like it's maybe, outside of the realm of salon ownership to be a working situation. But truly, there are times where two of us have to make a decision for the three of us, because that fulcrum piece does become a thing. We've had some decisions over the years that have been very difficult to make. And it usually comes down to two of us just saying, we got to do this. And the third person saying, I'm going to come along with you. We'll see how this goes, respectfully. And it's always worked out very well. So I think there is something in that three piece where two don't have it. Two are, can be like this, where the third person kind of smooths the edges of some of those decisions. So,
And
go ahead, Doug.
Tom, I just wanted to add one thing. I think I used to have to be the person that had to be right.
mm,
And that's very difficult to say out loud, And I will tell you that, my two business partners that are on this with me showed me that you don't have to be right. We just have to be on the same page.
mhm.
And that was a huge turning point for us, I think, as business partners / friends / everything that we do in life, in business. So that was a big aha moment for us, I think.
Yeah.
Well, and I will piggyback on what Doug just said, that I am one of those people that always has to be popular. And I realize, what, sometimes, Josh, we have opinions that are not going to be popular. So these two showed me you don't have to be liked all the time. It's okay to make those decisions that sometimes people are going to go, you think that too? And it's like, guys. So I think where Doug is that right person, I was kind of like that popular person. And those are both hard positions to carry out. So yeah.
So you've all had some personal growth in the process too, understanding that you each bring unique abilities, and but you also have learning experiences that you can gain from each other. My wife has two sisters. There's three of them, and they get along so well. I come from a large family, a family of seven. We all get along too, yeah. But my wife and her two sisters get along so well. I accuse them of being pathologically normal, You guys, I don't want to use the word pathological because there's nothing pathological, but you sort of normalize it. It just seems so normal. And when so many other people out there would just say, my gosh, I'm having a hard enough time getting along with my one partner or whatever. So it's super inspiring. So
Thank you. I think we've all taught each other that we all three know we're imperfect. We are also all three know that we need to forgive each other our mistakes, and we've all three made them. And we all three, one thing we really do stick by is when you mess up, own it, apologize for it. Don't make the rest of us wonder, is he going to do that again tomorrow?
Yeah.
If you can admit you made the mistake and you can own it, then we can trust that we've figured that out and we can move on to the next thing. And we've all made those mistakes. It's hugely important to own what you mess up, admit it, and put it behind you and move forward.
I'm looking at the chat right now, and somebody named Michelle or somebody named Jan said, I love the vulnerability. And I think that's a gift that three of us have. We are all vulnerable with each other.
Yes,
we have
and
been
with
with each
team.
other for 25 years. We've seen each other through a lot of difficulties. And, I think that's made us not only a strong company, but a strong core group of friends, which makes a big difference as well.
Yeah. So I was probing a little bit wondering if behind your success and behind your staying on the same page and all of that kind of stuff, if you had some sort of rigorous systems that you followed in terms of a structured weekly meeting, a quarterly offsite. I mean, or did you follow some body of work like EOS or the strategic coach or something like that? And it doesn't sound like you do that. Things happen very organically, but you do on a quarterly basis bring the whole staff together. Let's talk about that.
We do. Josh didn't mention that in his description of what he does, but we do quarterly staff meetings, and Josh leading those is so inspiring to our team because being an elementary school teacher, he knows how to bring joy and capture your interest on higher level thinking, but in a way that makes it fun and engaging. And he's amazing at that.
Thank you.
Yes.
So is it the three of you up there, or Josh, you're up there sort of
It
as the
changes.
MC? Yeah.
We've really gotten our director of operations very much involved as well. And I think he's evolved. He kind of came at it at the beginning, very left-brained, organized. We're going to do this, we're going to do that. And now even his presentations have some flair to them. So I think he's kind of figuring it out as well. But, I think what's really fun is we'll do like little raffles. We'll do like little, quizzes as we go through. We'll do like little shout outs. Anything that makes those people feel special in the moment is so vital to being in a salon. So I think our quarterly meetings are amazing. And what I was saying to you yesterday, I think is vital too. They're all hearing the same thing. Even if it's just that one day, they're all hearing the same thing. So that's important too, 200 people.
Also, our quarterly staff meetings used to be in the salons, and that was fine. And there's a moment for that kind of a training. But what we've switched to is a local, both in Columbus and in Dayton, are local art house theaters, not the big megaplexes, so that they're in comfortable seats. They have popcorn. Everything we present on the big screen in front of them. It makes for a really comfortable, easy, joyful, positive experience where everyone's hearing what's being said, everyone's seeing it visually. That we've all been at that meeting where you're in the back of the room and someone's talking and you can't hear what's being presented and you're looking for chairs and a mess. So that I think has really enhanced the quality of our communication as well.
Absolutely.
Sure.
Are you doing two? Are you doing one in Dayton and one in Columbus?
We are.
Yes.
All right. So you're repeating essentially the same message twice, so people don't have to travel because you're essentially in Columbus and Dayton. I mean, those are
Correct. It's an hour and 15-minute difference. So we'll do the first one on a Monday and then follow that with one the following Monday. They are mandatory meetings. So the beauty of that also is, hey, you can't make that meeting in Dayton. Great. There's another opportunity in Columbus the next week.
Yeah.
Do you pay them to attend?
We do pay them to attend.
Yeah, and that might be a requirement in your state. I'm not sure.
I think it is. Yeah.
Yeah. So you pay them, and do you have almost everybody there?
We do. And there are exceptions. We make sure that we understand if someone has a physical challenge or a family challenge or education or a second job. Obviously, those are all challenges that we're empathetic to.
And how long do the meetings last?
90 minutes.
90 minutes.
No more than 90.
Any
Yeah.
longer than that, you lose people.
Yeah, 90 minutes. Yeah. So you're getting the State of the Union, past, present, and future. Everybody knows where you're going.
It's
And-
always positive, start to finish,
Yeah, we
positive.
don't
That is a
always.
rule.
And I will say too, I know we're getting some questions on the chat. I will say too that using a movie theater is such a great place to be. The information behind you on that giant screen is so impactful. And then also, the movie theaters usually provide popcorn, pop, coffee, whatever. And so it's a built-in refreshment stand for us. And I know it sounds like fundamental, but it's really, they're comfortable in those chairs and in that environment. So it does work well.
Yeah.
Well, and the size of your staff, I mean, each one's got to have 100+ people, right?
Yes.
Or, yeah. So you probably need something with that kind of space.
Yes.
All right. I can't believe that we're 41 minutes after the hour. I feel like I'm just getting warmed up with you guys here. There are some,
talkers, Tom.
what's that?
We're talkers.
Oh,
Talk.
so a couple subjects I want to get to. John's name has come up several times here. And John's your director of operations. He has to be part of the glue that keeps you together.
For
Tell us a
sure.
little bit about John, and I don't know, he might be participating. If not, he's maybe going to listen to this recording. So, um,
So John worked with Doug at the salon Doug worked at prior to opening Square One Salon and Spa. John was a part-time front desk person, and Doug convinced us that we should pay for John to go to nail school because we needed a nail tech. So that's how we landed John 26 years ago. So he was a part-time nail tech for us in 1999, who grew into a full-time nail tech, who grew into an assistant manager, who grew into a manager, who left us about 12 or 14 years ago to work for Aveda with our blessing, because we had grown him into as much as we were capable to at the time. He remained our Aveda rep for the 7 years he was gone. So we still saw him monthly at our staff meetings, all those kinds of things. He was still supporting us. He still understood our culture. And what he came to realize 6 or 7 years ago is that we were him and he was us. So he asked to come back in a larger role. And what I love about our company is we are ever evolving and looking to tap into the talents that are in our house and allowing people to move through positions. And he's done that. And he is what is a number 2, if you're familiar with learning quadrants. So he is a rule follower, by the book. Rule 7 says we do this. The 3 of us are not a number 2. We need that number 2 in our business, and he is incredible.
have any of you gentlemen stepped back a little bit? I mean, 26 years is a long run. Are you at this 50 hours a week? You're raising your hand over there, Josh. Have you stepped back a
I
little
think
bit?
we all have stepped back somewhat. I mean,
Have
to
you?
be real, to be honest, I think when I decided to retire from teaching, I thought, oh, I'm going to go gangbusters at Square One Salon. That's where I'm going to end up. And the honest truth was, I'm 60, I'm going on 62 years old. And I thought, you know what, this has been great. It's been a wonderful run. I know what, as Doug Brent has also said, I know what my strengths are. I will give what I can give of that to the company. But outside of that, I really need to step back now and watch the company do what we set it up to do. We set it up to do what it's doing, and it's doing it. So I've learned to step back, and these boys have too, in different ways. So I'll let you guys speak to that.
Well, I totally agree. John, bringing him up again has been very important in enabling us to step back. I've trained him to do payroll. So if I'm out of town or I just got other things going on, he can run payroll for us. I'm teaching him the benefits, the HR side of it. I do have an ace in the hole. My husband, sorry, I almost said partner. My husband is an HR attorney.
He's a newlywed,
Newlyweds.
All right, there's a lot to unpack there.
Tug on that ear a lot to say, hey, can I say this? He used to say, you didn't say that, did you? And I'm like, I did.
All right, so your husband is an HR attorney.
For a corporate attorney for Cardinal Health.
I love that.
Right.
Come in handy a few times, gotta tell you.
It does come in handy.
I've always felt that if you want someone in the family, that's a good person to have in the family. Yes.
Yes.
Doctors
Andy's
and
fun.
lawyers. Yeah. What's that?
Andy's fun.
Andy's fun.
Yeah.
All right. So a favorite topic of mine, we'll get to next, and I think we're probably going to run out of time here, unfortunately. And it has to do with creating opportunities for the next generation. Oh. And really, I've always been a big fan and an active promoter of very intentional, not only succession planning, but creating an opportunity for ownership for the right people, the right time, and the right way. So you have 5 other individuals, all service providers.
Correct.
That you've given an opportunity to have ownership in the company. Speak to that a little bit more, please.
Yeah, so that was 8 years ago is when we finally came up with that concept, but it has been an intention that Josh has challenged Doug and I with for the past I'm going to say at least 15 years. And Doug and I were very much like, no, we couldn't wrap our brains around it. And when you're looking at this picture, you have Angie in the front corner in the black off the shoulder. At the time, 8 years ago, she had 5 family members working for us. And then Alan directly behind her had come to us a year before and said, hey, I bought a couple buildings. I want to open my own salon. And so Doug, Josh, and I kind of came together and were like, what can we do? And we approached them in particular and said, what would it take for you to stay? What do you need? And they thought about it over several months and came back to us with some answers that included, I want to be a quote owner. I want to have creative control of the space I'm in. And I want to have an opportunity to earn more money. So we came together with this concept of opening a new location. And in fact, we ended up opening 2 because it happened so quickly and it just was a good opportunity, where we valued what opening a new location would look like for shares. Doug, Josh, and I each agreed that it was important that we have controlling majority of that new location. So together our 3 shares at those two locations equal 51%, which gave us 49 shares to offer to a group of people. And the criteria we set up for that group of people was that they needed to have worked for us for 10 years or longer. They needed to be in some kind of leadership role where they were either mentoring or teaching classes, and they needed to be a full-time employee. And so when we did that, we ended up with a group of 10 or 12 people. We went to those 10 or 12 people and offered them shares based on how long they had been with us. And then some of them said no, but they remained employees. And then these are the people we ended up with. And each of them comes with one, they're joyful and people love them, which was the whole reason for the leadership piece. They needed to be someone people would follow. And they understand our culture and live it every day. And we're just lucky to have them as partners. Each of them have strengths and weaknesses. And it's important to realize you can't force someone to be into inventory if they're not into inventory. So don't waste your time. But just recognize them for their talent and put a spotlight on that.
Yeah. Yeah. Anybody else have anything else to say about your other owners?
I would say this, outside of one of them, I trained all of those people like through our education program, then trained them to train. So, that piece is so important because here they are today as owners.
Yeah. And I was going to also add to that when the question before that kind of led us into this, Brent and I and Doug take our message and teach it around the area to different businesses, to different salons, to different companies. This message of, build a strong culture and then pass it on. And it's interesting to see the reactions of places. It's almost like, I don't know that I could do that. It's the same way the 3 of us felt 15 years ago.
Right.
And now we look in the rearview mirror, kind of like, thank God we prepared ourselves to do this. And we're able to share that message. It's a wonderful thing to look back at what you built and be like, you know what? We did this, guys. We did this. So,
yeah.
Well, we might have to have a part 2 of this. Because of the work I do in succession planning, and I'm always looking for examples of where there's ownership brought in and how it works. And so might have to be a part 2 to this, but let's give these 3 gentlemen a virtual round of applause, everybody here.
Oh, thank
Give them a
you.
little shout out there. All 3 of you should be getting a $1 million light bulb.
And love it.
Love it.
Officially indoctrinate you into the Brain Trust. And that you're in very good company with the Brain Trust. It also earns you an invitation to Lightbulb Moments at the Phil, where we do some special honoring of our guests on Lightbulb Moments. So thanks for joining us. You guys are awesome. Yeah.
Thank you.
Pleasure. You are as well.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Yes, of course. I think there might have to be a part 2 to this, and it's very inspiring. And in an era of fragmentation and dividedness, it's really cool to see partnerships like this.
Thank you.
Appreciate Thank you so much.
Great job, guys. Okay.
Great day, everyone.
All right, everybody. That is a wrap of Lightbulb Moments, another episode. We are on next week. And I don't know who my guest is next week, but it'll be a phenomenal guest. And maybe by next week, no, I don't know. Maybe it'll be a grandpa by next week. So
Oh,
see. So,
congratulations.
yeah, it's pending, but nature has its way. So anyway, thanks for joining us, everybody. I'm going to take a moment to read the comments, and special thanks again to our guests. They're phenomenal, and I so appreciate having them today. So whether you saw or seen this live or listen to the podcast or the YouTube, thanks for spending your precious time with us, and have a great rest of the day and week.